meet the kids. Really appreciate it from
No, it's
everyone.
always a pleasure coming on board with you all. You can just start and then I can just catch up with you. Uh,
Yeah, no worries. Govin, do you want to kick off? Govin, you're on mute.
Just one second. I was just setting it up. Give me a second.
Yep.
Okay, thank you everybody for turning up for the last 2 weeks. This is the final week of this session with Abdul. I'm sure we're going to have many more in the future. Abdul, just to reiterate and say that it has been very educational for us as coaches, and I'm sure many of the students also have felt the same on speaking with you and learning how you turn professional and how you and many other cricketers playing at the international level have used goal setting and visualization to help improve their game. And that makes it very, very clear for all of us that skill is only half the game. And if you're not able to apply that skill and be mentally strong, it's not possible to start playing at the county level and at the international level. So thank you very much for setting the stage with talking to us about how to set targets and visualization and how that helps us. Uh, Over to you for this week's session. I'm hoping some of the students have also come back and worked on their examples of targets as well, and hopefully we can discuss all of that today.
uh, Again, I would like to thank Govind and Avi for the opportunity to interact with you all boys. For the past 2 weeks, we had discussed about goal setting and visualization. Today, I will try to discuss a bit of about self-talk. Any idea, boys, what is self-talk in sports? You can just unmute yourself and just
Go for it,
say
Raghav.
what if. Yes.
I think it's like self-talk is when you like talk to yourself like quietly, like trying to motivate yourself.
Well said. Anybody else?
I'm thinking about the game plan.
That's okay. Tell me one more thing. That's okay. Do you think it is important as sportsman
Yes.
or as an individual? And if you think it is important, uh, why is it important and how is it important? If you can share with us.
It's important because you need to like stay focused in the game, not just on your team, but on your like self.
Excellent. Excellent.
For me, a point about self-talk is it helps you reinforce the idea in yourself. Sometimes you have a vision, a goal, but it's very loosely formed. And I always use self-talk as a way to bring that idea together in my head, because without that, I don't see things clearly if I don't talk to myself about what my plan is.
See exactly what Govind said. Now, see, this is the choice of discussions that we had made. See, what Govind said, we just went back to goals. So it's so much linked, the discussion that we undertook. Goal setting, visualization, and self talk. All of them are correlated. Now, self talk is, if I say that it's inwardly and outwardly, does it make sense to you? I'm talking to you all. So I'm outwardly speaking to you. Again, if I say that I'm inwardly speaking to myself, make sense?
Yeah.
Any idea how many words do we speak to ourselves in a day? Any idea?
About 10 million. 10 million.
1,000.
That's too much. Anyway, studies say that we speak around 45,000 to 50,000 words every day to ourselves. That's what the studies reveal. That's what we speak to ourselves on a day basis. So just now, imagine that what level of words we speak to ourselves inwardly. And these all words are actually accumulated in our brain. That's stored somewhere in our brain, which we are saying is being stored in our subconscious mind. And that's actually taking a shape in how we are building our character. On a general parlance, I'm saying. Now, if I tell you one thing, I'm very angry, I'm telling you, giving you an example. When I'm telling you I'm very angry, that means I am telling you on an outwardly basis I am angry. That means I am telling you outwardly I am angry and inwardly also I am angry. Because outwardly I'm telling you angry is basically a manifestation of what I am feeling inwardly. But if I just keep quiet and I'm angry within myself, I can be angry within myself without even telling that I am angry. Possible? Yes or no, boys?
Yes.
Yes.
See, now this is where self-talk comes into play. I can keep quiet and I can be angry. Only when I'm telling you angry, you are coming to know I am angry. But if I don't express myself to you, I am keeping that anger within myself, and that is actually a sort of a negative thing which is going on in my mind. And that's exactly the reason why in today's world, every sports team have sports psychologists. Every sports team, be it cricket, be it football, be it basketball, you name it, and they have. Why? To take care of the mental side of sportsmen, because so many things are going on in their mind. And exactly what Govind said, self-talk is required to keep me focused on my goal.
Yeah, and I think it might be, sorry, one point I wanted to make, and I think it might
Please,
be
please go ahead,
more,
Avi.
more important during this time where the players are in a bubble. I mean, when they travel, they are locked down in a hotel room on their own, right? So it's even more important to have having a sports psychologist and having that self-talk, right? Because it's very hard for players to keep them motivated when they travel abroad, for example, and then they are locked in a hotel room for 7 days or 10 days, right? And they're literally not seeing anything outside. They're not going outside. They're just sitting in a confined area within themselves. So how do you motivate? There are different sort of negative thought process that also comes into players' mind, especially for a player who hasn't performed for some time, right? So they may have, for example, take this Sri Lanka and India too for England. England players have traveled to Sri Lanka. There might be some players who haven't performed as well as the other players. So for them to sitting in a room for 7, 8, 10 days and thinking about their performance could be quite depressing, right? If they haven't performed, and how do they keep motivate for the next trip, which is even a bigger series, maybe? So just to put things into context, why this
Absolutely.
might be even more important.
So now let us understand one thing, that the the one that I said that I am angry is basically a spontaneous self-talk which is happening in your mind. Now we need to understand that spontaneous self-talk is going on in our mind. We need to take care of our self-talk. Self-talk can be of three types: positive self-talk, negative self-talk and instructional self-talk. Now, generally, instructional self-talk comes from the coaches, teachers, where they give you inputs about your technical aspects, so on and so forth. Negative self-talk actually comes from your failures or mistakes, whatever it is. Negative self-talk keeps on happening in your mind. You need to take care that these negative self-talks are actually overtaken by continuous positive self-talks. Here, the role of the coaches and the parents comes into play. Now, this game is a great leveler. Today, you score 100, next day, you might be out on the first ball. But you have to understand that the game is all about the process. Now, I'm coming into the actual cricket way, how you apply it. As a batsman, if I look at how I can use the self-talk into becoming a better batsman. So what do elite batsmen do when they are at the crease? They concentrate on the process. They slowly take their mind away from the result. Now, I have to be goal oriented, for which I will have to visualize, but slowly I have to take my mind off the result. I have to concentrate on the process. I have to have a goal for the season. I will score 500 runs. I will score 1,000 runs. But what if that for the first two matches, I do not score runs? How do I motivate myself? I will have to concentrate on the process. So how do I get back into form? I start watching the ball more closely. So I will have to go into the nets, and it might be so that I am not watching the ball till the end and I am getting out. If you have watched batsmen very closely, when the camera goes focusing just on their face inside the helmet, you might see batsmen just murmuring to themselves. Great batsmen, they keep telling to themselves, watch the ball, stay calm, whatever suits them. They keep on telling them. Why? Because they just want to focus on the process and forget about the result. Because the moment they say, watch the ball, they just concentrate on the next ball. Because as is said in the game, you are as good as the next ball. You might think, I want to score 100. But if you survive the next ball, then only you play the next ball. You understand what I'm saying? There is no point thinking too far. So if I say that watch the ball, that's much more better than setting a goal, I have to score 100. Then the entire focus is going on the 100. And if a couple of over goes maiden, then I am putting extra pressure on myself. Oh, couple of overs have gone maiden. Now, what's my coach thinking from outside? I am unable to rotate the strike. Now there is unnecessary pressure on myself, and all the focus goes away from the process, and then you just play one rash stroke and it's gone. So the entire objective as a player will be just to concentrate on the process, and this process starts from the nets. This process starts from your home. When you close your eyes in your breathing exercises or in your meditation, and while you visualize yourself during this lockdown period, when you are unable to go to the nets and you are visualizing yourself batting, you are just visualizing that a bowler is coming and you are playing the ball right in the middle of the bat, or you are playing the drive all along the ground through covers for a boundary, and you are watching the ball as clearly as it gets. Now, there is one funny question which I'm just putting it to you. Suppose you are telling yourself, watch the ball, and you miss the ball. What happens? You have been telling yourself, watch the ball, and then you miss the ball. Now what? Anybody wants to come over and share this with me? You are telling, watch the ball, and you are missing the ball.
Because you don't have focus.
Okay.
Because you're too scared on because you're too scared, you're gonna thinking that I'm gonna miss it, and that's why you end up missing it. So don't tell yourself watch it.
Okay, that's one point. But let me put it into perspective in this way. When you are telling watch the ball, then you have actually moved away from that kind of mindset where you are fearful of anything and this and that, and you are just telling yourself watch the ball, but somehow you are missing the ball.
I think you're not concentrating enough to watch the ball, and that's why you miss it. And so the next time, what you have to do, you have to concentrate until the last moment and watch the ball till the end. And that's how you.
There might be some technical reasons. The ball might be swinging a bit. You might be playing in the first line. The ball might be just away, moving away. You might be missing it.
Wait, do you need to focus on the next ball?
Yes, this is what I wanted to hear from you. When you have missed the ball, you have not got out. Exactly. That's a brilliant answer. You are not out. So when you are not out, that means you are alive and kicking. So you need to concentrate on the next ball. This is exactly the answer that I was expecting. That's you have missed the ball. That's a past. Let's not dwell on the past when you are batting. When you are in the middle, we cannot dwell on the past. That's something we will do later on. We will think, why did I miss the ball? We will go into the technicalities. That's a brilliant answer. We will concentrate on the next ball. We will try to focus more on the next ball. Why did I miss the ball? Let us put it for a later stage. But let me watch the ball more closely. If you are playing a spin, suppose you are playing somebody bowling a really good off spin or a leg spin. Let's get more deeper into it. Let's see the angle of the seam if he's a leg spinner. Let's see the angle of the seam if he's an off spinner. If you get into that depth, what happens, all the tension, all the fear of getting out and everything that goes out of the mind. Your entire focus gets into the process. This is where self-talk comes into being. And this self-talk all of a sudden doesn't start happening during matches. This has to be practiced in the nets, while you are at home, while you are visualizing, for which exact goals have to be set. Exactly what Govind was saying. That's why goals need to be written. If you don't write your goals, if you don't put your goals into perspective, if you don't make smart goals, if you don't tell yourself that, okay, fine, I'm going to achieve these goals, I'm going to do my visualization skills, and then I am going to practice self-talk also, that's not going to happen. It's all up in the mind. That happens. One thing at a time. If I'm a pace bowler, how did I prepare myself as a pace bowler? The moment I bowled the ball, I turned around, I used to think about the next ball only, because the duration of my run-up was the time when I was planning for the next ball. The moment I turned into my run-up, it was relax, focusing on the target and coming and bowling. So as a bowler, I will always tell myself, relax, concentrate on the target. So see how I am just calming myself. It's all about calming your nerves. relax, eyes on the target, whatever I want to do. My mind cannot wander. I cannot think about Yorker, I cannot think about a good length, I cannot think about a bouncer at one go in one ball, and I can expect, oh, brilliant, what a delivery. That cannot happen. There has to be a proper planning. I have to plan a batsman out. Again, it might be so. I have planned a good length ball, and all of a sudden, the moment I am in my delivery stride, he steps out and he hits me for a straight six over my head. My entire process went haywire. Now, the exact answer that was given is I have to concentrate on the next ball. I don't have a choice. So, I have to think that he stepped out, and then again, that duration of the run up is the time when I have to talk to myself. Okay, fine, he did this to me. So, what's my planning? The moment I turn again in my run up, relax, focus on the target. Now, the target might be a bouncer, or the target might be a slower ball, whatever it is. But there has to be a concrete plan. And the early in your life as a cricketer, you realize this, the quickly you become good cricketers. And believe me, if you want to be professional cricketers, then you have to understand the importance of the psychological part of the game as quickly as possible. Because you can practice n number of hours in the nets, but if you are not mentally prepared, you will never be able to become that level of cricketer. Now I'm just bringing Avi into the discussion. We were just speaking 4 or 5 days back, and we both were on the same, I would say, the level of discussion about the India and England test match. Some Indian cricketer was saying that in India will win 4-0, and we both were saying that it was not going to happen because England had a solid batting lineup, and if England was winning the toss, England was going to post a real good score, and that is what exactly has happened. So the preparation that England has gone into the Sri Lankan series, the series win, see the confidence that has gone into the England team. The result is today 555 for 8. Joe Root has scored a double hundred. And you cannot say that India is going to win the series at home. England might win the series. So this game is basically a confidence sport. Cricket is a confidence sport. So you have to prepare yourself mentally. We spend more hours in the nets, but we are not ready to admit the fact that this game is played more in the mind than in the body. Of course, we need to be physically fit, technically, we have to be really at that level. But we have to be mentally prepared. We have to set our goals, boys. We have to visualize what we want to do. Self-talk is a very important thing which comes into play because we have to motivate ourselves with positive self-talk. I can do it. I am going to do it. Until and unless I say that I am a top quality bowler, I'm not going to become one. Because nobody is going to come and tell me, oh, you are a top quality bowler. That's not going to happen. First of all, I have to believe that I am a top quality bowler. Now, this is not arrogance, believe me. There is a fine line between being arrogant and being proud. You have to take pride in your abilities. There is no harm in being proud, but we must not be arrogant. We have to be humble. But the moment we are arrogant, our downfall starts. So we have to keep our feet firmly on the ground. We have to work hard and we have to take pride in our hard work. We have to set goals. We have spoken for the last 3 weeks over in this class, and it has been a phenomenal effort undertaken by Govind and Avi. about goal setting, visualization, and today, whatever self talk I have shared with you. I don't want to lecture you more on that. I've just kept it very simple. I will be there whenever both of them want. Slowly, the lockdown will go over. But believe me, if you want to achieve great heights, you have to write it down as it is said. Don't think it, just ink it. Until and unless you write it down, it's not going to happen. You have to bring your thoughts into this world, because thoughts take wings and they fly away. They fly away. I want to do this, I want to do it. Oh, fine. So many good things are happening in your mind. The moment, oh, after 6 months, somebody tells you to do this. Oh, yes, I thought that. Oh my God, I thought that. Today he's telling me that. 6 months gone away. We have to write it down. Avi has been saying, Govind has been saying, and we all wish that you take this very seriously and you really do it. Govind, Avi, you take it from here.
Totally agree with you. And there were a couple of themes, with your permission, I want to pick your brains on,
Please,
Abdul.
please.
All right. So, just to summarize, boys, self-talk is a very useful tool that you guys can use to bring around positivity to yourself. Okay. But something which struck me was what Abdul said. Cricket is about the next ball, and cricket is also a team sport, right? There are two things you've got to take into context. Now, self-talk is very important because not everybody is going to come and motivate you. You have to start motivating yourself. You have to start believing in yourself, that you are good enough to play at whatever team. So, first, I want to start by asking a question to everybody. I want you to raise your hands. If you think there are players in your team who are not as good as you, if you think there are players in your team who are not as good as you, please raise your hands. I've seen there are a few people raising their hands. Okay, good. Now I want you to raise your hands and tell me if there are people in your team. I think pretty much everybody thinks there are people in their team who are not as good as them. That's perfect. I want to ask you, are there people in your team who are better than you? So a few hands up there saying there are people in their team who are better than them. So remember, just like you felt there is somebody not as good, there are others thinking the same about you. Now, this can take a very positive or a negative road depending on how you tackle and handle this. Now, the three things that we were talking about, goal, visualization, and self-talk, is very, very important for you as a person to help your game. But cricket is always a team sport. It's not like tennis. It's not like chess. It's a team sport. So you as a captain, a vice captain, a bowler, a fielder, a batsman can also help bring positivity to the people around you. Now, if you have gone into bat, Romit, if you've gone into bat and you've got out, yes, you can do a little bit of self-talk. But if all the 10 guys in your team also come to you and say, don't worry, this is what you need to do. I think you'll do better. You are unlucky. Does that help you get better? Yeah. Or if those 10 guys came to you and said, that was really rash, you're just making the same mistakes over and over and over again, how are you going to feel? Right? So when it's a team sport, remember, yes, everything starts with you, but sometimes you also have to figure out that it's not just you. You have to think about helping the people around you as well, because this is a sport which you can only win when the 11 of you perform well. Just as an example, the Australia game, the last game, the final game which India won against Australia, it was not one performance, it was 11 performances. Nobody scored a century. Nobody did something spectacular that it was a one-man person winning. Everybody performed well. That's what made the difference, right? So for you, you have to realize it's about your performance, but it's also about you motivating all the other people around you to perform well, Abdul, what do you say to this? Because I've seen a lot of kids sometimes just
Absolutely.
punish
Means,
the others for not performing well.
No, I just give you an ideal example on this. See, the teams, those who have uh, instilled team spirit, they have all uh, given brilliant results. Australia might have lost against India, but they will come up. I'm telling you. England is a fine example as to how they have become a superior team. Now, Chris Silverwood is not having that kind of a coaching uh, background which Andy Flower or Trevor Bayliss they had, but work ethics, the system that they are in. See the result that England team is giving. Now, I'm giving an example. Pakistan team, every player is individually a match winner, so talented. But see, the lack of team effort that they have is before everyone to see. They don't perform well as a team. Why? Because team effort is lacking. I'm just giving you an example of Pakistan team. India has come up in leaps and bounds in recent years. India was also all about individual performances, as you are saying. So the game is more about team effort. Now, while the game is also about team effort, why self-talk is very important is also because of the fact this game makes you feel very lonely at times also. Now, as a batsman, when I'm batting in the crease, my partner is 22 yards away from me. In the ground, 11 players are planning to get me out. There is nobody to help me. And in today's world, all the support staff, those who are outside, they are with their laptops and everything planning to get me out. So see how not only technically, but mentally I have to be so much strong to cope up with all this. So to survive at that level, I have to be actually in my zone. Now, I don't want to go into the definition of what is in my zone today. That's a lengthy discussion. But what I want to tell the boys is it's such a game where you have to think about yourself also, but you also have to think that I am as good as my team.
Thank you so much, Abdul. Sorry, I sort of took a little bit of a divergence from the topic, but I just thought there were lots of common themes between what you have to do as an individual and what you have to also remember to do as a team.
Yeah.
Which is why I tried to bring that up. And absolutely, how to get into your zone, that's a completely different exercise. And it is so varied. A guy like Sehwag sings. A guy like Virat waits for people to sledge him to get into the zone. And different people have different techniques. Some people just talk to themselves. Like you've seen Stephen Smith, he just does shadow practices on the field, off the field, at home. That's how they get into zone. It's a different way.
Sorry to interrupt you. And then there is a guy like Hashim Amla. He doesn't bother.
Yeah.
He's just in his own world, right?
Exactly. So getting into your zone is a very personal exercise. There are theories and practices and things that you can do to find out what helps you get into the zone. Yeah, exactly. And we can always think about talking about that later on. But what I want to do now is use this as an opportunity to ask you boys to pick Abdul's brain and ask any questions you have about the talks that we've had, or anything in general about cricket as well. Right? This is your opportunity. So please make the most of it. All right. I see any hands there. Anybody? Shiva, it's your hand. Go for it. If you have a question. Don't feel shy, boys. You may ask your questions.
If you're captain, how do you manage yourself and the team at the same time?
Sorry, as a captain?
As a captain, if you want to score runs and you want to manage the team, how do you do that at the same time?
Now, this is a very interesting question rather. As a captain, uh, and as a performer, what happens is you either end up becoming a far superior player or you end up underperforming. But there are hardly captains, those who become average player, like you become the likes of Virat Kohli, or sometimes the burden of captaincy becomes so difficult that players like Sachin Tendulkar, they say that, oh, I want to concentrate on my batting and I just don't want to do captaincy. Now, captaincy either brings the best out of you, or the captaincy becomes a burden for you. It's a very individual thing as to how you look up at leadership. If you are good at leadership, then you will always thrive as a captain. Captaincy is very much personal. If you want to be a brilliant captain, then you have to always think that I am ready to bat in any position. While since you are telling me about scoring runs, I am ready to bat in any position, in any situation for the team. If you have this kind of a mentality, then scoring runs is not a problem. The best example is Mahendra Singh Dhoni. Virat Kohli is in a league of his own. Dhoni has batted in most of the numbers. I don't think he has batted in number 10 or 11. Else, he has batted in any order. Any other question? Then I will answer personally one thing related to captaincy. Any other question?
How fun is it to be a captain?
Sorry?
How fun is it to be a captain?
Fun, again, I said it's very individual. The general conception is that bowlers do not make a very good captain. Let me put it in this way. Batsmen do make a good captain. That's what the general conception is. The common thing that goes on is that bowlers do not have brains. But India won the 1983 World Cup when Kapil Dev was the captain. Pakistan won the 92 World Cup when Imran Khan was the captain. Batsmen do get a lot of time in the field to think. That is why captaincy is most of the time given to batsmen. Captaincy is always fun if you are looking at making a name for yourself as a captain. I have always enjoyed captaincy all my life, and I have always won trophies for school, colleges, clubs, everywhere. I have not captained in first class, but else than that, I have always been a captain wherever I am. I have been a bowling all-rounder all my life. Now, being a bowling all-rounder captain, I must tell you that I have personally felt, and I have read Imran Khan very closely, and I fully agree with what he has said. If you are a bowling captain, generally you end up either under bowling yourself or over bowling yourself. That's one thing which happens if you are a bowling captain. If you are selfless towards the team, then you will always think, if I bowl more, what others are going to think. That way you under bowl. And if there is an element of selfishness in yourself, then most of the time you over bowl yourself. That's one thing which happens if you are a bowling captain. Now, this is what I wanted to tell you. Anything else?
I wanted to put the question back to both Adi and Lucky about what you think you will enjoy about captaincy. Give me 2 points, and give me 2 points of what you think you won't enjoy about captaincy. Or at least start with 1 point each of what you would like and you don't like.
I mean, as a batting all-rounder mainly, I would prefer like putting the field, like field setting is one thing I'd want to enjoy. Like setting up a plan against a batsman, so I know I can get him out. Like I can like see a few balls of how batsman is playing, and then working around how to get him out, setting fields, uh, making good positions, telling where the bowler to ball. Like that'd be one thing I'll enjoy.
Okay, so the fact that you can make decisions and take control inspires you to do captaincy. And what is it you don't want to do about captaincy?
Um, I mean, it's just the pressure of like, I guess in the same way, it's the pressure like when you're under, like if you're about to like, if it's a very tense game, and again you are in the field and you're setting the field, then making a mistake there is one thing that is quite like is something challenging.
And Adi, do you have any points to add?
Yeah, like you can choose the bowling order and you can decide when everyone's batting, and it's like if someone's out of performance, you can literally just put them at 5 or 6 or something.
And what is it that you don't want to do if you were a captain?
There's nothing really, because it's captaincy is a fun job.
So let's say Adi, who's your best friend in your team? Let's say
James.
for James is your best friend in your team, and let's say James is bowling really badly. As a captain, you have to drop him because he's not doing well. Are you okay to do that?
No, but you can't say that because you're not a selector. Then how are you going to drop a player?
No, as a captain, you have always got an input. Will you be okay to drop the person?
No.
You
I
won't be okay.
just let him bowl maybe 1 over.
Okay. So the reason I ask these questions is because you've got to see different people as captains bring different things on board. I'm sure a few of you would say, "Oh, I would never do what Adi does," and there might be a few of you who will say, "Oh, I would do exactly what Adi does because then some of you might say it's just wrong. You should drop James. You shouldn't pick him. It's not about friendship." And then some of you might say, no, that's not the right way to captain. As a captain, you see one of your star performers not performing, so you need to put your hands around him and give him more confidence to come back and play better. So different people bring different elements about their personality into their captaincy, right? All the while, you always have to think, whatever I do, I have to put the team first. Okay, that for me is the hardest thing about captaincy, about putting the team first and putting selfishness of yourself or your mates aside. That's very good. And once you start doing that, all the little bits about captaincy that you enjoy, you'll start enjoying a lot more. Okay?
Yeah. I mean, typical example have been Joe Root's brother. He played first class cricket, right? But he even never choose his brother when he plays to drop or to select him. That's a typical example. I mean, even I found it very difficult when I was captaining. More about friends than being selfless about myself is okay, but what my friends would do, what my friends would think, that's a big point.
Sorry, Abdul, back to you. You wanted to talk a little bit about your
No, that's
captaincy.
okay. That's absolutely fine. Captaincy is something which comes very natural to somebody, and with time, one realizes that whether I am captaincy material or not, it might uh, shape up later on in the career also. It's not necessarily that at a very young age somebody might show captaincy promise. With time, one becomes a better player, and then all of a sudden the understanding of the game also improves, and then he might become a good captain because Rahul Dravid became a very good captain later on, honestly speaking, because he was such a good student of the game that he became a very good captain. But he was not so extrovert like other contemporaries. Anil Kumble was a good captain. So we can, as we were saying, that not necessarily that captaincy has to be typically in this way, then you are a good captain. Typically in this way, then you are a good captain. Different captains have different ways. As you said, that somebody might put an arm around and give a couple of more matches, or somebody might say, no, 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 I want to go in this way. That's it. Like giving you an example, Mohammad Siraj, he did so well in Australia, won the Test series, but Ishant Sharma, he is playing this Test match, and Mohammad Siraj is dropped. He's dropped. He's not unfit. So Virat Kohli has a way of captaincy, doing his captaincy. He brought him Ishant Sharma. Now, again an example, this might have never happened in any test playing country. A guy called Karun Nair, he scored a 300 and never played a test match. Right? So, this is the amazing thing in life. You never know. Now, this Mohammad Siraj can end up injuring himself and can never play another match in his life. You never know. There have been many players, those who have been so close to playing test cricket, and they ended up just being great first class cricketers whom I know who could have played test cricket, but they never played test cricket in India. There were so many great players with whom I have played. These boys will never know them because it's Indian first class scenario. So anyway, that's the reason why the great Sunil Gavaskar once said that to represent your country, you have to be really lucky. That's a very important factor. You have to be really lucky. A lot of things have to be there, but you have to be really lucky to represent your country. Boys, you need to work hard, and the harder you work, the luckier you get.
That's very true. And one more thing, I mean, Lucky, you mentioned something about what you didn't like about captaincy, right? Where you said, I'm worried if it's the pressure situation, I've made a mistake and we lost the game. That's not the kind of thing you want to do. You should understand that you're not purposefully making a mistake. You realize it is a mistake, and you realize the mistake only after that moment has passed. You know, so retrospectively, anybody can say, you should have done this, this, and this, but you never know. And that's exactly what Abdul is saying as well. You might have a great innings, but you never know whether you're going to play the next match. You know, like Siraj and Karun and so many other players, right?
Shall I add one thing?
Yes.
Just adding exactly one thing over here. That's why. What Govind said. Remember, boys, one thing. The captain never takes a wrong decision. Because whatever he does for the best interest of his team. After the game, everybody might say, oh, you did this thing wrong or this thing wrong. But whatever he did at that moment, he did thinking that this would be the best thing for his team. So that's never wrong. That's never wrong. It just did not click. That's how the game of cricket is played.
Exactly.
If it would have clicked.
Yeah. Yeah. If it clicks, it's history. It'll be written down in history with gold lettering, or otherwise you will look like the biggest fool. But never beat yourself for doing something which you think is right. Don't worry about the consequences of it if your intentions are correct, because there is so many things which is not in your control. Leave it. Don't let that fear of making mistakes or people telling you you've made a mistake stop you from doing captaincy. That is what I'm trying to tell you. There'll be a lot of people who will comment.
Start embracing pressure.
Exactly. But all those people who are commenting, none of them are the playing 11. Remember that. You are the playing 11. You're leading that playing 11. Mistakes is fine. It happens. But it is for you to not take pressure about, oh, will I make a mistake and not start, that will be defeating the purpose.
Start embracing the pressure, because until and unless you're embracing the pressure, you're not going to improve. You're not going to improve.
Joe, just for the interest of time, Joe has raised quite a nice question. He said, my question would be, when you out in the middle or perhaps before a game, what is the best way, or there is a way to get rid of the nerves and any nervousness that you have?
Best way in the middle.
Yeah, during the game or during the morning of the game, I guess what he's referring to, just before a game, when you are nervous, what's the best way to calm your nerves down?
Now, this again flows from all our discussion. All of a sudden, I cannot wake up in the morning and I say, I don't want to have nerves. Now, this is a process. If I have set my goals properly, if I have done my visualization properly, and if the process has come properly, then all that's going to happen is that I'm going to feel confident. But that process has to be there, as I am repeatedly saying. I have to set in the process, my dear friends. If the process is not set in place, one fine morning I cannot wake up and I say, oh, I want to feel confident. Why am I not feeling confident? That's not going to happen. There is no magic pill. There is no vaccine for this.
Yeah, and I think one thing I wanted to add, Joe, I mean, it's going to happen irrespective, right? Even if someone play village cricket on a Sunday afternoon, he's going to feel nervous while he walks down to the bat, or you are playing World Cup final. You're going to feel nervousness anyways. I mean, so the best thing to do is to enjoy and to embrace that feeling, because it's inevitable, right? There is no way you can say, if you're not feeling nervous when you're getting to bat, that's a bad thing. There is something wrong with that you are not feeling nervous, right? Feeling nervous is the part of the process, and I think it's, you have to embrace that and you have to enjoy that as well.
Now, that's very
I
well
had
said, Avi.
I had
That's very
a
well
couple.
said, because nervousness is required, because that actually helps you concentrate a bit more.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I had a
Yeah, carry
couple
on.
of things,
Sorry.
to give you as tools uh, to maybe help you counter nervousness. So these are some things I practice. I don't know if it's scientific or not. So for me, when I try to do nets, I try to do match scenarios. I know there are certain scenarios where I get very nervous. There are certain shots which make me very nervous. There are certain kind of bowlings which make me nervous. So I try to practice more and more and more of that in the nets, so that when that scenario comes up in a game, I've already done my homework. So this is what Abdul was saying as well. If you're not prepared and you've not practiced, you cannot go out in the middle and say, why am I nervous? So for you to practice things which make you nervous is very helpful. Second thing is, I don't think it's a right answer, but I'm going to tell you anyways. Some people call it superstition. Some people call it routine. I have a routine before I bat. I have a routine before I bowl. And this is something that inspired me by listening to people I know from the army. The first thing a guy does when he wakes up, if he is part of the army or the navy or the air force, is he does his bed, because then he knows he's completed one task successfully, and then he can move on to the next task. So I've ticked something in my notebook today, then I can start ticking the next book and next thing and next thing. That is sort of the way of instilling positivity in your head that you've done something small but something successfully and completely. That's why they make their bed. That's the first thing people in the army do. So when I play in cricket, there are a few things that I do, and I start from before the match itself. I get my kit in order. I check everything. When I go in before I bat, there are certain things that I do, and I keep doing that every time, because then that sort of gives me a very familiar feeling when I'm walking out to bat or when I'm walking out to bowl. I have some familiarity saying, yes, I have done these things. It is like every other game, you know. So I do that, but there are lots of other people like Rahul Dravid who who tries his very best to not have a superstition. So if he's put on the pads with his right foot first, next game he'll make sure he does it with the left foot, because he believes so much in his skill that he does not want superstition to mess with his mind. So there are that I'm just giving you two opposite ends of how people do things, but ultimately what they are doing is making their mind prepared before even that scenario is happening, right? You can do it by practicing something, or you can do it by having a ritual, or you can do it by not having a ritual and having a lot of faith in your skills. But those are all different tools people use to sort of shake nerves. And like Avi said, nerves is very natural part. It's just like when you go and do public speaking. The second you have the mic in front of you, even if you're the best orator, you could be Barack Obama, but you will still have nerves for the first couple of seconds, and then you overcome it.
Yeah. Abdul, for the interest of time, I know we were supposed to do like half an hour, but every day we end up
No,
doing.
but it's okay. What Govind said on the second point, I just want to add something because it's such a fascinating discussion that we get into. Boys, what happens sometimes is, I'm telling you, a very strong team, when playing away against a weak team, it comes in the newspaper, oh, the home team is going to have an advantage. Whereas the team which is going to play in its home is actually a weaker side, but it's going to have an advantage. Why? Because it's playing at home. What exactly Govind was saying. Now, let me explain this to you. Why is it going to have an advantage? Because it is going to play in familiar circumstances, familiar ambience. It's going to have a home crowd. Why? Now, visualize one thing. If somebody enters into a dark room and somebody is being told that there is somebody sitting with a white cloth all around him or whatever it is, and the entire room is dark. If you are told beforehand, you won't be scared. We are only scared when we don't know. We open the door and it's just a wooden chair with a white piece of cloth, and we think that it's a ghost. We are scared because it said fear of the unknown. But when we know that there is a lady who is sitting with a white cloth, we don't fear because we know. So, what he's exactly saying is the familiarity actually makes us comfortable. That's why we say whenever we have game on away grounds, reach there before time. We generally go for laps. We get used to the ground. We get used to the pitch. Matthew Hayden used to go and sit on the pitch, hold his bat, close his eyes, look all around the ground, then used to visualize. Matthew Hayden used to do this ritual before test match. Every test match, uh, the evening before the test match, he used to sit down on the pitch before that. Why? To make himself used to the ambience, everything. Now, these people were not fools. They were all elite cricketers who were doing this. So we are sharing this with you so that you understand the importance of the psychological side of the game. Why did they do this? They were practicing for hours and hours in the nets, and then they were sitting with their legs crossed, holding their bat, eyes closed on the pitch, watching all around the ground like this. They were feeding their mind, their subconscious mind. They were feeding their mind that I have been in this place. They were giving their eyes the feel of it, because the mind, it feeds on pictures, visuals. It's like that. So we need to make ourselves familiar. What he was saying, Dhoni. If you go into any old, not so old YouTube video of Dhoni, you will see every ball he's opening the gloves and he's batting. Before every ball he does that. Now that had become you could say a ritual, a habit, whatever you say. But that's the way he used to get himself ready before every ball. It you can have your own. You can just tap your bat. You can just drag the mark, whatever it is. But you have to get into that mental zone of yours where only the ball matters to you. Nothing else matters to you. The moment the bowler turns to bowl at you, your entire focus has to be the ball, not the bowler, because at the end you are playing the ball. You're not playing the bowler. Because cricket is the only ball game where the bowler lets go the ball and he tries to control the ball. Imagine all other ball game, football, the guy who is having the ball, he controls the game. Hockey, who is controlling the ball, he's controlling the game. Basketball, he who has the ball, he's controlling the game. Baseball, who has the ball. Ice hockey, who has the ball. Cricket is only ball game where the bowler lets go the ball and he's trying to control the game. And you as a batter, the ball is nowhere in contact with the bowler and still you are defeated by it. It's such a funny game. So we actually play the ball, not the bowler. So if you are hitting the ball for a six, you are not hitting the bowler for a six, you are hitting the ball for a six. So just understand the fact that you are playing the ball and not the bowler. The day you understand that I am playing the ball and every single ball is important, your improvement starts from there. The day you understand that my life depends on one ball, your career is just going up. But if you just say, oh, it's just another ball, you might just get out that ball and you might not ever play that level of cricket. Careers are finished by taking one ball loosely. As a bowler, if I get hit for 3 boundaries, I have 3 balls to come back. But as a batter, I haven't got any option. So you need to understand the psychological part of the game. Anyway,
Yep.
Govind, I leave it to you and Avi.
Yeah, I think I don't have enough words to thank you, Abdul. You have sort of opened up so many things for all of us as coaches and as players of cricket to think about and to start practicing. And this is something again we touched about when we started the session, as how practicing in different conditions helps you become an all-rounded cricketer. So one thing we find very difficult to find in England is good turning tracks. And as a result, many of us don't even know whether we are good spinners or not. You know, there are certain fundamentals we try to follow, but we don't. So I was, and the other thing is you'll never get reverse swing in England because the grass is always green here. So for us, I think we really want to see whether we can do a trip to India with some of the boys, and come meet you and play against your students, and train along with your students as well.
I'm absolutely game for it, because the moment all the flights and everything becomes normal, all arrangements will be done over here. My academy caters to all kinds of boys, and Chirag, Ayush, those who are there in the today's class, even Rehan, and I see another gentleman, Mr. Anirban Ghosh, his son also comes over. So, and then all the other boys, those who plan to come over with you, I will arrange all sorts of matches wherever it is required in all sorts of surfaces, and everything will be done. It's only that the situation needs to get normal.
Yes.
And once I also come over to England, and then we can sit down and plan it accordingly. What playing in all kinds of surfaces, and the time that is suitable for you to come, that's not at all a problem. That all things can be done. That's absolutely on the cards.
advantage is that when it's winter here and we can't play anything, it's perfect weather in India. So that really helps. And I would really
No,
like to
December time, I think it's going to be fine. Means for you,
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. When there's no cricket here, it'll be really nice to, pick one of those February or December school holidays and come to India and play and learn something new. And I would really like to encourage if Anirban or Chirag or Piyush or anybody else who's actually come and played and trained under you in Calcutta, if you could just talk to us about how you have experienced, and it'll be really good for us to know as well, right? So if you have anything to share, feel free. Avi, you've also been there, so if there's anything you want to say, there'll be good to hear.
Yeah, definitely. I'll let the other people speak first, and then I'll chime in.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been to India a few times now. So I'm Ayush, sorry, just to let you know. So I've been into India a few times, and I think the thing that you need to understand is that I think the better you can adapt to the situation and adapt to the pitches, the faster you can do that, and the faster you can visualize the lack of swing and the rough turning pitches, the dry pitches. The more you can visualize that earlier on, the better situation you'll be when you arrive in India. And I think over in India, technique is probably taken into a much deeper level than over here in England, I'd say. But I think the more you can visualize that, the drier and the turning pitches that are going to be in India, they are, the better situation you'd be. I think, Chirag, if you want to add anything. I think, yeah, so I feel that the difference between England and India, there's obviously a much different culture in India compared to England. I think there's a lot of boys that are sitting there who've got absolutely nothing to lose in India. They might probably not exactly from the wealthiest of backgrounds. So they'll put their absolute, hearts into the game in India, which, sometimes you don't quite find the same enthusiasm in England. Sometimes you'll get people that are just there for the sake of being there. But I've definitely seen in India people who are there to just put their hearts out, to play their hearts out without any fear, because they've got absolutely nothing to lose. Anything on the weather?
Thank you, Ayush and Chirag. If there's anybody else?
Yeah, just wanted to add a couple of points on that. So, yeah, Ronak enjoyed, he has played one season with Masood sir, and he has enjoyed immensely. The whole setup is brilliant. And, the boys over there, they're very warm, very kind. So, because nobody knew him and he has a language barrier as well. So those things doesn't matter at all, as long as you speak in bowling terms and you can do well in the field. They all like, so as Chirag was telling that, they the only language they understand is cricket. So, and the boys, they're very helpful, they're very warm. And as you have seen, Masood sir has been spending time with you guys to explain the game. Those, the smaller nitty gritties is not always the technical parts, but also the mental and, the thought process behind that helps. So absolutely, if you guys can manage anytime in this year or next year, it'll be brilliant. It'll be absolutely brilliant experience for everybody.
Thank you, Anirban, as well. And reason Avi and I have been talking about this. Avi, just give me one second. The reason behind Avi and I thinking about doing these tours is because something which I think we discussed over and over and over again. You might never get another opportunity. So if you've reached county and you get a chance to play for England, and then you go to India, that's the first time you're seeing a track like that. The first time you're playing in a very, very different pitch to what you have in England, and you perform badly. you may never get that chance to play for England again. And that is why I feel if there is an opportunity to go to different kinds of wickets, the bouncy wickets of South Africa, or get to Australia, and same way for folks from India to come and practice in England, if we can create those opportunities, I think we as players have put ourselves in a much better position to sort of strike gold when we get to the level to play county or international, right? So that's the aim, that's the goal. We are not here trying to practice for village cricket, right? That's not the thinking. There is a much bigger goal for all of us, and our hope is by doing everything that we can to be prepared, we have a much better chance of having a long career. Avi, over to you.
No, I agree. I mean, what you said. I mean, I've been to like, as you know, whenever I go to India, I go to different academies and visit different academies to see what's the difference, and how the coaching is done. I mean, currently, as you know, a lot of you, that I'm on doing level 3, and I've been interacting with a lot of scouts from England, and then a lot of quite a high profile coaches who have coached for England, as well as in the county circuit. I mean, they all acknowledge that in India, the coaching style is quite different, right? It's much more embedded technical, whereas in here, it's what they call, it's a player-led coaching. So whatever players wanted to do, they will coach that way. In India, it's a very, very deep technical. That goes into very technical stuff. So if someone wanted to, like, and I have seen myself, right? I mean, just for the shadow or just for getting your stance, they would spend hours. We never get to do here in England, right? You come and you play his see ball, hit ball kind of way of coaching here. So if someone wanted to spend a lot of time in like how to tie up your technique, or whenever you are bowling, how to bowl in the spinning track. Um, spin bowling over here is, to some extent, is a little bit difficult because you spend a lot of time indoors, and the tracks, the indoor center is not normally conducive to spin bowling. So if you wanted to learn more about spin bowling, I think India is the place where you can go. And not only just spin bowling, like even on the fast bowling as well, bowling in those sort of track is an art. It's not just like bowling on the swing bouncy track, but bowling in like flat deck, and how to contain run is also an art that perhaps we all need to learn. So I think it's definitely adds value wherever you. I mean, if you ever travel to India, just experience that the cricket over there. So yeah.
Uh, so I think if anybody else has one final question, now is the time to speak up. If not, I would say the big thank you to everybody who's been here. Big thanks to Abdul as well for joining us, even though it's close to midnight in India, for the last 3 weeks. We're hoping we can do many more sessions, and we're hoping you come here and train some of our kids here as well, and bring some of your folks from India to play matches in England.
Yeah, absolutely.